Hello and welcome to Material Musings. Today we are going to be looking at this woven wall hanging. All of these dyed pieces, they've been dyed with avocado dye and clay, and we are going to do a couple of, I'll show you basically how the process goes. So come and join me and stay until the end, and you'll be able to see in depth how these pieces were created. Okay, so I thought I would do a couple of things today. So we've got our woven loom piece that you saw, so we're going to work on that. I wanted to show you where my meditation prayer cloth stitched piece is at the moment. The one that I'm really looking forward to is dyeing some fabric, so using some wax resist techniques. So I'm excited to not only do some tea dyeing on fabric with wax resist, I haven't done that before, and I'm going to do a bit of dyeing with clay. So yeah, let's get on. Okay, so I thought I'd show you what I've done first, quickly, because I'm itching to work on the other thing. So what I've done so far is I found a nice fabric, the fabric I like, and I've applied it to the edging. I still have not yet put all of these woven them through each other. So what I've now got to do with this is just stitch it. I was contemplating either doing it by hand or putting it through the machine, and then this will be able to be hung up. I've got to harvest the wood that I'm going to use. I'll probably use moringa wood to hold it up, but we'll see. Anyway, so that's what I've done with this so far, and you know, I'm not in a race against anybody, so I can take my time and get it done. It's another mindful activity, even just, you know, doing this sewing, it's bringing everything together. So, you know, there is no need to rush. I can just take my time and yeah, get that done. So the other thing that I worked on was this. So you would have seen when I showed some of the larger looms, and I've added, so this is upside down, this is the way it goes. And so now what's left, I was looking at this bit and I was thinking about whether to add this around the edge, but I'm not sure. I might just cut it off, cut this off. Yeah, let's do that. The other thing that I'll just put it around there. The other thing I was going to do was take it off this loom, and the loom is actually a canvas frame, and I took the canvas off and added the rope. So I just have to be careful where I am going to be cutting these, and then incorporating them into the design, and then adding beading. So before I cut it, what I think I will do is look at the beading, and then once I know I've got all the pieces together, then cut it, because I was just like, okay, yeah, that's what we're going to do. And so I've used a variety of different yarns. This particular one is fabric that's just been plaited, and then I've incorporated it. I've plaited a few of them because they were quite thin. Yeah, I think I've plaited all of them, apart from the this one down here at the bottom. And when we look at the back, you just see where the bits have been knotted together. But I like this look as well. But yeah, I will be fusing the straggly bits into the piece. So that's that. Yeah, so I'll probably get that done and think about the main colour I want to highlight. I think we're going for sort of like the reds. I'll have to check to see what kind of beading I've got that can be incorporated with this. Either to have hanging at the bottom and then to be interspersed in the piece itself. Right, so I've done a few of them in there. For some of them, I thought that I would maybe hang some beads off them, so you'll see them in the front. So that's the front. So wherever I've got some additional, I'm going to add some beading on there. This one looks like it's fraying a bit, but not to worry. So these bits, let me just take this one round. Okay, so that's what I've done so far. And the other thing that I had is, this is what that's what I used here. I've got two different colours. It's a blue and this brown colour. And what I did, because it was so fine, I think it was a fabric material, and I've plaited them together. And yeah, so I like the look of them, and they fray, the edges fray, so you've got this nice kind of texture to them. So I've still got some left. So that's one of the things that you can do if you've got fabric. If you don't have certain types of wool or colours that you can use, you can basically weave anything. I've seen a lady weave plastic. There's one that weaves with metal and creates wall hangings with them. It's quite interesting. But I'm not a professional weaver, as you can see. If there is a professional weaver watching, you might be thinking, oh my goodness. But it's just really trying the activity, and it may be that you go on to do it, you know, in a larger way. So we've got a weaver here called Sylvester, and I'll share some of his links. He's does some beautiful work. I did an interview with him, and I'll try and link that video as well so you can see. And he's got giant looms. Yeah, so I'm not looking to go on that large scale, but something as small as this, or some of the smaller ones that I do, I like just, you know, creating some designs, and as I go on, maybe I'll learn, you know, some new designs and create some pictorial ones where that are some of the ones that I've seen. If you look on Pinterest, you'll see a whole variety of ones. So I'm quite itching to look at the next thing that I wanted to share with you, and I incorporate it in a lot of my pieces, and I will let you see what I mean. So we've got these two which you've already seen. So this is have been waxed resist, and wax has been applied to the fabric, and then there's been a dye applied to it. It's been allowed to dry, and then I've removed the wax. In this particular one, that's the front, but you'll be able to see the this has been avocado dyed. So I did a similar sort of thing. I took the white fabric, but I didn't have to apply wax. I blended the avocado pit, and it created a really quite a thick paste, and then I added it to where I wanted to. So it almost acted like a resist, and then I allowed it to dry, and then I removed it. And then to kind of fix a lot of them, what you do is press them. So what I wanted to experiment with, because it's going to be an experimentation, is I've got some pieces of fabric here, just some small pieces, and I've got some tea that I've had seep in. It was from a box of tea that had been sitting in my cupboard for years. So it's just like, okay, we're just going to use that, I'm not going to drink it. And then I also wanted to show you some clay. So I've just got some clay that I've reactivated, or not reactivated, but put it with some water, so I've got like a little paste going on here. Now the soil in my garden is a heavy clay soil, so I sometimes use that. This particular one is some clay that I brought. It's what the ceramicists use, but it's still been harvested from the clay here. So we're going to use that. As I say, I've just mixed it with a little bit of water. So you can experiment with some of the things that you have and see if there's a lot of the natural dyes that you can do, but that's for another episode. But I've just got some cotton here that I'll probably cut in half, and we'll just use one of each. So the other thing I need is maybe just something to protect my desk, and we're going to get the wax. Right, so you can play about with the wax. I started experimenting. I've used the tea lights as a wax, paraffin wax. This is just candle wax that I've got here, and I've just got a tea light to keep it melted. I've got a brush that I reuse. Again, it will go hard, but then once you put it back into the wax, it will soften up again. And I experimented with other types of wax as well. These are crayons. I had like quite a few crayons left over from, not projects, but I went to the, just to the dollar store and brought different crayons just to see what the effects will be. And you do get an interesting effect. And what happens, and what I did as well was make a few cakes, so different colours. So what I would do is put this in. I've got these little cake cases, and I'll melt this and then use it on the fabric. And then here's some multicoloured ones. It's just literally to get the wax design, whatever you're doing, onto the fabric. It's not to retain the colour of the wax. So I just have these, and they last seemingly forever. But as I say, if I was using different colours, like especially on the white fabric, using say the blue or This is a multicolored one. I might not want to use this one, but I've got lots of these little trays and they fit nicely into the oil burner and they melt quite nicely. And some of the scented candles, they also give you a nice aroma. But at the end I will share with you some more of the pieces that I've dyed. So all we're going to do is take the fabric, and I've got the wax, and I'm just going to dip my brush in there and allow it to soften up. So I usually do this like kind of apply patterns to fabric, especially when I want to change up the wax, because I've had this wax, it doesn't evaporate, it just goes solid and then it turns to liquid. So I would normally use these kinds on fabric and just do a design. So let's get the right side of the fabric, and I'm literally just going to do some shapes, patterns all over this. And you want to make sure that it goes through. Some of the waxes, they just sit on the top. Again, so I would suggest you just experiment as well, and experiment with the different types of waxes you have. You can use beeswax, and this is very similar to batik, but you know, they use beeswax. I've even got the, I can't remember what it's called now, that you use to pick up the wax. So just doing some lines to begin with. Okay, that's that one. See why you need to keep it on a surface. So I need to allow that to harden up, and I'm going to do another one and maybe do a face this time. Okay, so simple image. I've done the eyes differently so that you can see. So whatever you cover up with the wax is not going to be coloured with the dye. So when I was doing this, I was acting as if I was painting the picture, but that meant that all of this is going to be the same colour as the fabric, and this, I thought, let me just show you the difference. Okay, so we need to let this one dry as well. So I think this is probably pretty much done, and I've got this small bowl here. It's actually just the lid of my wax, and I'm going to which one should we do first? Let's do the clay. Okay, so as I said, I've just got some clay here and I need to leave it on the fabric. I'm going to just apply it to the fabric and just smear it on like that. So wherever there is wax, it won't colour. But I found out that I could do it just by accident. I think I was just, again, just exploring and messing around. And when I saw the results, especially on the heavier type of cotton, it is really lovely, and I really look forward to sharing some of the pieces that I've done previously. I'm glad I kept the weaving section shorter, because this section is just, I really love the way that you can get different effects on fabric. And I will at some point be offering just kind of samples of fabrics, hand-dyed fabrics in my fabric. I'm going to be doing some fabric packs, so you can look out for those, but I will let you know when they're available. So I've covered it all with a layer. The just trying to think what the consistency is of cream, I guess, if you were to, it's the same consistency, and I want this just to dry. I'll be putting it in the sunshine and just allowing it to dry, but I would leave that over sort of like a couple of days. If we look at the back, you see that. So I will show you what this looks like next week. I might even get to make some more by then, but stay until the end and I will show you all the ones that I have dyed. So now we're going to move on to the tea dye. Now I did use quite a lot of, as I said, I used quite a lot of tea bags, so you should actually see the result straight away. And I'm just gonna some very strong tea. My son, I did it in my teapot, and my son was just like, how strong do you need your tea? Okay, so as I said, you can see it like, kind of straight away, and as I have put out the water, there would be some fine cracks that would have developed, but as you can see, the white cloth has been dyed, and that will need to dry, and as I say, next week I'll show you what they look like, and that can go back in the bottle. So let us have a look. I'm going to clear this away. Let us have a look at some of the pieces that I've dyed already. So here are some of the pieces that I've dyed. I'll show you the clay dyed last, should I? Anyway, so these are some of the avocado dyed pieces, and then I've gone and added some paint, some stencils. So I've got a nice pattern going on here, and then I've stenciled around the edge. Haven't yet quite decided what I'm going to do with that. Again, some more avocado dyed pieces, and then I've gone on and added some ink. So I was playing around with this one, and when I added the ink it bled, but I'm gonna use that as part of the overall design, so it will take me going in and doing some finer work with a brush, but I like the way the avocado dyed this piece. So these bits have been dyed and painted, and I've got just some designs on here, some more avocado design, and then you can do your own kind of image on there. So now we're looking at some of the wax resist pieces. So this was originally dyed with the clay. I had added the wax to this, dyed it with the clay, and then I went back in and used some, it's a terracotta clay on here, and it gave me this really nice colour. So I really liked it because you've got the combination of colours going on here and the resist part. So I haven't yet decided what I would like to do with this piece. I might cut it up and use it in sections. And now, oh, this is more avocado dye. Let's bring you in a little bit. So I've used a stencil on here, laid it flat, and then just added the dye. So I've got these clay dyed pieces, and we've got two different fabrics here. This is the one on the back, and I've used this as a backing, and this can hold the dowel that you would put on there. So what I've done with this is use the blue pea flower, which it turned this brown colour as opposed to the blue colour. So that was a surprise. So I haven't yet been able to recreate that, but this side was dyed with the clay, and so you can clearly see where I've done the wax resist and then added the clay. And over time, depending on how you store it, this one has faded. So you need to make sure you fix them and then just keep them out of bright sunlight. So here's another one that was wax resist and the clay added. But this particular one, I thought, let me wash it and see what kind of effect I get. So the clay didn't totally wash out. It stained it. I think the length of time that you keep it on, that's why it's important to keep it on, and then maybe even reapply some clay to it, and then just make sure that you fix them. And these two are some of my favorites. So we've got a heavier cotton here. I've added the wax resist. It's gorgeous. I love it. And then I just created some patterns and shapes. I really like how it looks, and that's why it's nice to be able to just experiment. So when you've got a chance to do something like with the wax resist, I would do it in a batch and do a batch of them and do some designs, allow it to dry, and then add all the clay over time. And this is the other piece. This one got slightly, so it's a face that I've done. I think it was this one actually. It leaned against this, and so some of the dye was transferred, but I actually like that look. So this will probably, I'll turn this into a wall hanging. So maybe I'll look for a corresponding fabric, and I was just thinking maybe this might be the fabric that I use as a backing. We'll see. And I don't feel inclined to do any stitching. I just love the effect that I've got with the wax and the clay. So this one was washed. Obviously you have to wash the clay off, but you just have to be more delicate with it. And then this piece was just, it was a piece that was wax resist. I was experimenting with this one. This hasn't been done with clay, but this is a conventional dye that I've used, and created an image on there, and I was going to use it as a backing, but we'll see. I might have to just redo some of, I might just redo some of it, cut it up and then make some smaller ones. We'll see. So that is using natural materials to dye and to dye fabric, and you can get a lovely, as I say, you get a lovely kind of look when you're using natural dyes, and you do have to experiment. So I'm still learning and learning about mordants and things like that, but there, you know, sometimes you just feel like, okay, I just want to dye something. But the fabrics are really nice, especially when you're creating your own piece of fabric. So I hope that that has been useful. I will be doing a more in-depth mini course on this, so we'll go through the whole process step by step. So if you're interested, please do leave a comment down below. Just leave a comment anyway and say hi, and join me on my course platform. I'll leave all the links are in the description. But yeah, you then become a hoarder of the fabrics that you've created. But yeah, all of these will be used in a project in some shape or form. So I hope you've enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you next week, and we'll look at the pieces that have just been done today and see how they turned out with the tea dye and the clay.